Dragons have undoubtedly played a pivotal role in the world of Game of Thrones. Among them, Drogon takes center stage as the male dragon and the elder brother of Rhaegal and Viserion. Balerion, on the other hand, existed during a different era, being part of the illustrious Targaryen lineage. In the 7th season of Game of Thrones, a memorable scene features Cersei Lannister standing between the mighty Balerion, known as the Black Dread. This is one of the few moments in the show that provides a glimpse into the colossal size of Aegon, the Conqueror's dragon. The sheer magnitude of Balerion's skull sparked numerous discussions, with many drawing comparison to the size of Daenerys Targaryen's Drogon. This eventually led to fan theories, particularly one in which they believed Drogon was the reincarnation of Balerion. And as you may have guessed, this also brought up the question of strength. Who is the mightier dragon? Fighting across generations, will Drogon live up to the strength and ferociousness of his predecessor? Let's find out. Balerion, the Black Dread, was one of the first-generation dragons that the House Targaryen bred. Keep in mind that dragons continue to grow for the entirety of their life. Now remember that Drogon has been alive for 3 or so years in the books, and about 7 years in the show, while Balerion, the Black Dread, lived past the age of 200. Also, bear in mind that the extent to which a dragon can grow depends on the space it resides in. If it is a closed building the dragon grows up in, it will not turn up to be much larger than the roof it lives under, while the size of a free dragon knows no bounds. Keeping this in mind, we know that until Drogon left Dany, he was, pretty much all the time, in cages and such, while Balerion roamed the skies freely for most of his life. But one more thing you should also know is that part of the reason all of Dany's dragons are even as large as they are is that the showrunners made them grow up quickly to make Dany more imposing and daunting than she already seemed. And also, since the blood magic ritual was done to hatch Dany's dragons, they would have been much bigger, possibly growing at a similar rate as the original dragons. The point I'm trying to make is, Drogon is nowhere near as large as Balerion. Not even close. Not even after the showrunners sped up his growth. Balerion at the time of the conquest was over 100 years old, and dragons grow continuously throughout their lives. The further you move past the conquest, the bigger Balerion got until near the end of his life, when he started living in the dragon pit, and his growth tapered off as a result of confinement. As of the latest we've seen, Drogon is less than a decade old. Going off the books, the last mention I can remember had Drogon's wingspan at 20 feet. The Drogon in the show is maybe 2 or 3 times larger than he should be for his age, but even in spite of that, Balerion would still dwarf Drogon in size. However, Drogon was still alive at the end of Game of Thrones, meaning he could live to grow larger than Balerion in the future. We don't know if that'll ever happen or not, but seeing his growth rates, he might become even larger than his enormous ancestor. Balerion was described as the largest of all the Targaryen dragons. His wingspan was so vast that entire towns would fall under his shadow when he passed overhead. His teeth were as long as swords, and his jaws were large enough to swallow an aurochs whole, or even one of the mammoths that are said to roam the cold wastes beyond the port of Ibn. Drogon is also very similar to his ancestors. His scales are black, his horns and spinal plates are blood red, and his eyes are smoldering red pits. His flame is black fire shot with red, and the wash of its heat can be felt 30 feet away. His wing flap sounds like the clap of thunder, and his wings stretch 20 feet from tip to tip. Drogon is the largest among his brothers, Rhaegal and Viserion, and his black and red scales resemble Balerion a lot. The physiology of the dragons appears in all contexts to be very similar. Balerion and Drogon possess striking similarities in appearance. Both dragons have black scales with vibrant red to orange eyes and an array of spikes adorning their chests. Given these resemblances, one can reasonably assume that their strength would be comparable if they were the same size and age. However, Balerion's extensive involvement in numerous wars and battles has honed his combat experience, granting him a distinct advantage in terms of expertise. In combat, Balerion emerges as the superior dragon, larger and more seasoned, and ultimately more potent than Drogon. Nevertheless, Drogon, as Daenerys Targaryen's most formidable and aggressive dragon, demonstrated extraordinary might during the climactic battle in King's Landing. His fiery breath and destructive flames ravaged the city, leaving a path of devastation in his wake. If Drogon were to reach the colossal proportions of Balerion, it is conceivable that his strength would be even more astounding. However, in their current state, Balerion would unquestionably prevail in combat against Drogon. Despite this, Drogon's strength is remarkable, considering his size. He displayed the ability to incinerate and melt the Iron Throne itself, a symbol forged by the breath of Balerion. This feat underscores Drogon's surprising power and goes to show the impact he could have with further growth and development. Drogon might have a speed advantage, but Balerion is much bigger and much stronger, and to Balerion's advantage, he is simply more experienced. It would probably take Drogon and both of his siblings at once to even stand a chance against the Black Dread in combat, and even then that's not guaranteed. One-on-one, Drogon is hopelessly outmatched. So, do you agree with our decision? Which dragon do you think would be able to take on Balerion? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, thanks for watching.